In this section, we're talking about the rules and concepts of curling. So hockey has periods, baseball has innings, and curling has ends. Curling normally has 6 to 10 ends depending on the level of play. So at a professional level, you're playing 8 to 10 ends, whereas at a league level, you're probably playing 6 to 8, dependent on timing. Each end is comprised of 16 rocks. Each team has 8 rocks, and you alternate between the teams who throws the rocks. So the lead on one team is going to throw the first, and then the second rock of the game is thrown by the lead of the other team.
As you know, there are 4 positions in curling: the lead, second, vice, and skip. The lead is in charge of throwing the first 2 rocks, which are normally guards, in order to set up the end so that future rocks can come around and score points.
So the second throws the second set of rocks, and these rocks will often be draws coming around behind the guards that the lead has put in play, or throwing takeouts to get other rocks in play out of the house.
The lead and the second are often known as the front end, and they are the powerhouse of the sweeping, so they will sweep everyone else's rocks.
Next up is the vice, which has many rules. So the vice at the start of the game is going to flip a coin with the other team's vice. And based off of who wins the coin toss, you get the hammer, which is the last rock advantage of that end. Once that end is finished, whoever wins gives up that advantage. So whatever team did not score in the last end has the hammer for the following end. The vice is also responsible for determining the score at the end of the end.
Next up, you have the skip. So the skip is throwing the last rocks at the end while calling the shots for the rest of the 3 players. As you know, you can't really call the same shot as throwing it. The vice will be the one who holds the broom while the skip throws their last shots.
Another important rule of curling is that the rock must be released before the hogline. Otherwise, it's known as a hogline violation. The rock then must cross the other hogline for it to then be in play.
You also have the sidelines, and if the rock ever crosses or touches the sideline, it is considered out. The next line you have is the back line, which is at the back of either end of the sheet. If the rock fully crosses the back line, then it is out, but if it's just touching it, it's still considered in play.
Another thing to know is that curling has sheets of ice. These are kind of like lanes in bowling. Typically, a club will have 6 sheets.
However, some have 4 or even 8.
To score points, you need to get your rocks into the house. The house is the target that has 3 rings and a circle in the center. So it's 12 feet in diameter, so the furthest ring, or the largest one, is called the 12-foot. The next is the 8-foot, the 4-foot, and then you have the button.
To score points, you need to be the closest rock color to the pin, which is the center of the button. So if you have 1 rock that's beating your opponents, then you score 1. However, you can also have multiple rocks closer to the button than the opponent, so you would score multiple points.
There are 3 basic types of shots in curling, the first being the guard. So those are the rocks that we're throwing just in front of the house to protect whatever would be inside.
The next is a draw. So any rock in the house is considered a draw. It can be in front of the house or behind the house, just has to be in the circles.
The next shot would be a takeout or a hit. So those are the high weight shots that we're throwing to move the things in the house, in front of the house, or even move things around inside the house.
Nice hit.
Although it may seem like we just gave you a lot of rules, once you know the field of play, they're not actually that difficult to follow.
Your main goal is just to get as many of your rocks as close to the button or the center of the house as possible.